You're listening to the Renegade Blitz, the best podcast for Steelers fans by Steelers fans. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at RBlitzPod, and at Blitz Videos. Read articles on RenegadeBlitz.com, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app.
Ty Polks usually does the opening for the podcast. He had some stuff going on tonight, so he was unable to attend. But we have Brandon Walker, who's usually on every week, just like I am. And then we have Travis Adams on again. He was on last week, so we're glad to have him back on. But man, wow, what a night there was in Pittsburgh yesterday with Ben Roethlisberger's swan song at Heinz Field. Quite a moment. The game itself really wasn't all that great, really. I mean, both the quarterback play was like the yards per attempt was. I saw Roethlisberger average like 2.7 yards per attempt. So the game itself, the defense played amazing. We'll get into all that with 9 sacks and everything. But what do you guys think about the Ben Roethlisberger send off?
It was awesome. It was great. Probably the better send offs that we had. Like all the greats didn't really have that. We know all the quarterbacks I know that I watched never really had a great send off. Maybe John Elway, but he wanted to win a Super Bowl. Super Bowl is not going to come out of this. Peyton Manning didn't have a great send off. Tom Brady didn't have a send off when he goes to New England. Marino, they all went out flat or just uninvitedly got uninvited to the party. So it was great to see. It was awesome. Which he played. I was actually calling for him to throw a party on the Browns. I thought Claypool was going to have a great game, and I almost completed the comeback on my first start of the fantasy league, Travis. Because he was. I'm sorry. He's your godbrother, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was talking mess. If Claypool had a good game, I probably would have overtook him. But he had one more week. And Najee, he had Najee too, so he helped him out.
Najee had a really good game.
Oh yeah, he helped him out big time. But we'll get to that. But nonetheless, it was a great send off. They won. He got the final kneel down against the Browns, and I almost teared up. I almost did.
I was gonna say, since like Ben Roethlisberger is the only quarterback that I've seen like my whole entire life, so seeing him like take that final snap, and then it hurt. And then you can see the pain in his eyes when he was getting interviewed, all these cameras following him around. You just see that he was about to tear up, and he was just so thankful for everything and all the chants, the thank you, Ben. It was really emotional, but it was a really good send off, like you said.
Yeah, I'm 27, so those 18 seasons with Roethlisberger. The only quarterbacks I know other than Roethlisberger were Tommy Maddox and Cordell Stewart. So, it's just amazing. Almost 2 decades, with Ben Roethlisberger at a quarterback, and I mean, what a heck of a career. And I have to say, ESPN did a great job of capturing that moment with him going off the field. His last moments at Heinz Field. And then did you guys see the tunnel shot with his family when he was going into the tunnel after the game? That was great.
That was what got me at first, because I was just like, wow. It's like it's almost something you see in a movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's almost like not Rudy, because it was like, I don't know what football movie that you could compare it to. That's the thing.
You can't really compare it.
You can't. It was like one of the best send-offs that you could see. I would say Kobe, comparing it to basketball, but Kobe scored 60 in his final game. I thought it was going to be like a Ben throw it all day long. Backyard Ben. I wanted to see Backyard Ben one last time, but it was amazing. But I want to not switch it up, but how do you think, because I've talked about this, people think I bash on Ben, and I think sometimes I do think he has kind of underachieved a little bit, because I thought he could win a couple of more Super Bowls, especially with Le'Veon Bell and AB, and we will get to him too, Travis. But I think he could have did a little bit more in his career, even though it's a Hall of Fame career. Don't get me wrong, but what if he didn't have that accident? What if he had his head straight on earlier in his career? I wonder what if, because I think he could have had a lot. I think he could have had at least 2 more Super Bowls, and he could have been better than Peyton Manning when it comes to numbers and accolades and everything like that, even though his accolades are awesome. So how do you think about that, Chris? How do you think about that, Travis?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point. I mean, I saw Colin Cowherd kind of today made a similar point. I didn't get a chance to listen to it yet, but he mentioned, Josh Allen, like that's who, like he's the modern day Ben right now. And he thinks kind of what you said, that he could have done more, even though, he has a Hall of Fame career. I think he'll be first ballot and everything, but definitely an interesting point. But I mean, as far as stats and everything, I mean, he's all up there with all the legends of the game, yards, touchdowns, everything really.
I said he's at least. I stretched it to say top 5. That might be a little, but he's definitely top 10 all time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I think a big issue was he didn't really age as well as the other quarterbacks did. Like you see, Tom Brady is Tom Brady, playing at 44 years old, and like if Ben was playing at 44 years old, it wouldn't be the same. And like Drew Brees was also pretty old, but he really aged well and he got older and he played better as he got older. Ben just was on the decline for years and it just carried on and got worse every season. But he's still, like you said, he's still up there with like the big stats and he's still like top 10 in my opinion.
Yeah. But other any other mentions that we kind of covered, Ben's last game, going into it, he kind of he hinted at it on Thursday, saying it's probably going to be his last, and all the signs point to that. I saw like Brooke Pryor of ESPN said that Art Rooney II said on the message on the jumbotron, thanks Ben for a great 18 years. And when the owner says that, you definitely know it was already the case. Really, everybody knows this is it. That was Ben's last game at Heinz Field, and this will be his last game on Sunday. So,
possibility.
Oh yeah, the playoffs is still a possibility. You have to hope for of all teams, the Jaguars to beat the Colts.
Jaguars.
I'm not hope. There's also a scenario where they have to hope that the Raiders and Chargers don't tie, also because they'll have the tiebreaker over the Steelers because both teams beat them. If all 3 teams end up being 9-7-1, but so what do you think? Where do you think Ben? How do you think the Steelers move on from here? I'm assuming Ben's going to announce his retirement like very soon after the season.
Where do they go?
Yeah,
I don't know, and that's an issue. They poorly prepared for this moment.
I agree.
You could get a rookie, but I don't see a generational type quarterback. Ben actually fell into their lap. Cleveland passed him up.
He came from a smaller school. I think that was a bigger thing. Because, Eli Manning was in that same draft. And they just like, oh, he's coming from the smaller school. Maybe he's not as, he still went 11.
11.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up, Brandon, because yesterday I saw an article, 93.7 The Fan. One of the Browns writers said that one of the fears that the Browns had back when they passed over Roethlisberger was that like he was heavy-legged or something like that. And he didn't have quarterback mobility, which is like the furthest thing that from the truth of what happened, because Ben was, he extended plays and everything. So the Browns really messed up, and Ben always had that chip on his shoulder because of that, because he grew up in Findlay, Ohio, which is not too far from Cleveland, his home state. They passed up on him, and Roethlisberger finished his career overall. He's 26-3-1 against the Browns. So complete domination and everything.
Yeah.
But, they took Kellen Winslow the second, also the tight end.
Yeah,
because Butch Davis had a relationship with him at Miami. So that was just a big miss by the Browns, and they scored. And now they're having issues with Baker Mayfield if he's going to be the future.
Oh, yeah, there was another team that passed him up too, but we're not going to go there. This is not going to go there. But anyway, yeah, let's talk about Baker Mayfield. Where do they go from here? Because we talked about that with Jake on Thursday. Thursday. What did they do with him? He's the best quarterback they've had since they came back into the league by far. But he's an average, just an average quarterback. And you can't have that from you're a third, fourth round pick. That's great. I'll take that. But you're number one overall. They have an $18 million guarantee for him, which they can't weasel out of at all. So,
Ty's coming on. He's just
here he is.
See if he
is that him?
Ty, you there?
I don't think this is working the exact way that I thought it was, but if you can hear me, hello guys.
You can hear it. Yeah, it just can't see you. It's like a green screen.
You can't see you. It don't matter. You can hear your voice. That's fine with us.
Sorry, I am in my car on the way back from the event I was at. But I'm just sitting in the drive-thru, and again, great job, guys, with the show.
Oh yeah, we're glad to have you on. I'm glad we could do it here at 9:00. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks Brandon, Travis, Ty coming on. We touched on the Ben stuff, and we kind of backtrack a little bit. We all gave our thoughts on the Roethlisberger send off. So, what were your thoughts, Ty, on that crazy night at Heinz Field yesterday?
I think if you could draw up his entire Steelers experience that night, you really can't say that was a better night. You can't say that was like one of the great nights in Steelers history, and you knew this day was coming, but you didn't want it to come at all. And man, it's way better than him saying goodbye after basically just a butt kicking in a wild card game. I mean, that's way better. I think that's the type of send off that we all want there. Everyone happy. I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the place, and I mean, honestly, I don't think you could really draw up a better ending for him. That final handoff to Najee Harris, I think that was more like a passing of the torch than if you ever saw one.
Yeah, that's a great point there, Ty.
I think it's going to be Najee's team moving forward. I think the silver lining in this, they can finally get back to that old school Steelers football for the next few years until they find their quarterback. They can get back to playing defense, special teams, running the ball, having depending on a guy like Fryer move. You got, I don't know about the wide receivers right now. We'll talk about Claypool, Deontay Johnson. I think he's proven his worth. I know he's a little bit inconsistent, but you have the skills. So if you just find a quarterback that can manage the game, like early Ben, like what Mac Jones is doing now, I think you guys will be good. I don't think you guys got to go through. I mean, we all have to go through trying to fish for the Aaron Rodgers or the Russell Wilson or the Deshaun Watson. We can find a good quarterback that we can build around. And the next thing is it's going to be a test for Mike Tomlin. We're going to see how great Tomlin is really going to be in the next few years because he doesn't have Ben. I think it was a codependent. He said it's a codependent relationship that they had. So if Tomlin can find his next guy, just like Belichick found his guy in Mac Jones, I think the future will be bright.
It even helped Ben send off even better because the whole, like I keep seeing on Blitzberg on Twitter how they're waiting for Najee to just break off and have one of those really big runs. And I think it really happened in like the perfect time. And I think that really just boosted the team because we haven't seen something like that all season. And we're really seeing like his true potential.
Brandon, Ty, what are your thoughts there on Harris? Really just, as Travis mentioned, we were looking for those breakthrough runs, explosive runs, and he really got that. It was kind of interesting that Adrian Clem left for Oregon, and then, all of a sudden they rushed for 190 yards. And Tomlin said that the his replacement, Chris Morgan, who he might actually promote for the offensive line. He said that he did a tremendous job in the game plan for the run game against the Browns.
But
Did you hear my question?
Travis, like I guess you've seen my tweets earlier that night. Like basically, I was saying, like, man, he's gonna break one soon, and I'll admit it was a lot sooner than I thought, but it was certainly welcome. And if that was a one-game trial to basically say, no, this is how it is. We're promoting within again. I mean, I want to see game 2 from Chris Morgan because, again, as Jake said on the podcast earlier a few days ago, the Steelers had their best offensive line, really their best overall performance in the trenches against Cleveland. And I don't know if it was because of the wild card game or whatever, but yeah, it's clear there was a different offensive line in that game, especially with Kendrick Green out.
Yeah, and with that performance, 180 yards rushing, Najee Harris broke Franco Harris's rookie franchise record, which was set in 1972. Franco had 1,055 yards, and that was a 14-game schedule then, but still, crazy season of hair for Najee. He actually ranks 4th in the league in rushing with 1,172 yards. And he's not too far from second in the league. I think he's 33 yards away from being second place. So, that's truly impressive given the offensive line he's running behind. And he also hasn't fumbled on 296 carries.
I think him passing Dalvin Cook was a major, it was really eye-opening to see because what we've seen Dalvin Cook do, especially what he did to the Steelers, it's like Najee, a rookie, has more yards than him. It's pretty impressive.
He also missed a couple games too, but but I'll tell you, like I said, he's the future of the team. He's going to be written on for the next few years. Get that 5 years out of him. Maybe get a franchise. Get 6 years out of him. And then move on, then see what happens then. Because he's an older rookie. I think he came in the league at 23. He's 23, 24 now.
Yeah, I believe so. He's a little bit older. But I think the Steelers, people were getting on them saying that they should draft offensive line first round or, they shouldn't have spent a running back. But I like Najee. I think he has a great head on his shoulders, it seems, and everything. He says all the right things, and really, they've been using, he's been a bell cow for them. His snaps and they basically have no number 2 running back. It's just Najee's the workhorse, and I think all things considered, given the state of the offensive line and everything, I think this has been a great season for Najee.
He's a tone setter, and that's what this team needs more than ever right now. It's not exactly the pick that they wanted; it's the pick that the Steelers needed. In a way, I think as you could see last night, it's all about the mental and it's all about heart with the Steelers. If they're mentally in it, if their heart's in it, they could win the Super Bowl. I mean, it's not a urinating tree. Steelers gotta win the Super Bowl type thing. No, it's legitimate.
It's legitimate, but not. They need to improve their talent level first and foremost. But what I think is, Najee Harris can set the tone with this offense. He can set the tone even with the wide receivers with Deontay Johnson. Him being the lead guy now with his mentality, having a good head on shoulders, he can help Claypool get his head out of his posterior.
Yeah, to quickly point out, it's been a really disappointing season for Claypool. Only 1 touchdown this season after having 9 touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns last year. And as Jake mentioned Jake Burns on Thursday mentioned that, the NFL could really figure out players quick sometimes. And I'm not saying that's happened with Claypool, but it's definitely been a sophomore slump for him. I mean, he can't even make contested catches. I mean, some of those throws, I couldn't believe Claypool didn't come up with the grab.
Yeah, it's disappointing. Yeah. It's disappointing because he came in here talking reckless, wanting to have practice with music. I don't know. He got his head got too cocky. He got too big. He's been following around Juju on the south side. He's been and then he got it from AB, and we will get to him, Ty. We're getting to that. We're getting to that.
Yeah,
that clown.
We'll get into that big.
But I mean, Claypool has struggled. He struggled. He's got. Let me see. Let me just check how many yards does he have overall.
I feel like a lot of the offense, every time he's targeted, it's just like throwing a back shoulder route or like a fade route, and he's just going up to grab it. That's like the only thing that they feel like he can be in the offense.
Yeah, because and he's good for them little jet sweeps. He has 54 catches for 823 yards in a tub.
Yeah.
So he's averaging 15 yards of reception, but I want to research how many passes has he dropped, how many times has Ben looked at him like, what the hell? And I always said I'm like, and I understood prior move too. I said it was going to be Johnson 1, Claypool 2, Freiermuth 3. Now I think it's Johnson 1, Freiermuth 2, and Ray number 3.
Yeah, speaking of the cloud, he had 10 targets yesterday and 4 receptions for 35 yards. Claypool had 3 receptions for 17 yards on 9 targets. So that's just, Johnson, 8 receptions for 31 yards on 15 targets. The passing game is just broken right now. Like, I mean, Ben hasn't been throwing for a lot of yards, and it's basically they have Deontay Johnson who messes up occasionally. He had 2 drops yesterday, had a false start penalty. So it's basically Johnson. Every once in a while, Claypool will have a big catch, and then it's like some Freiermuth over the middle. It's
throw him the ball more.
It's a really bad passing game, offense overall, really too. So, but to transition, with the Steelers win on Monday night, it guarantees that Mike Tomlin will have his 15th consecutive winning season to start his career, which is the NFL record. And that's, with all the parity that goes on in the league, I mean, for Tomlin to have that, that's a truly incredible record. But again, even as he mentioned during his press conference today, that the standard in Pittsburgh is making the playoffs and winning Super Bowls. But so, what do you guys think about that stat with Tomlin not having a losing season? And what do you guys think about that? And just the Tomlin being able to do that in a league that just, you see teams all the time have a bad, like at least one bad year. And the worst years that the Steelers have is when they go like 500.
I think it's a really good stat, obviously. But over like these past couple of years, like when we had Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, I feel like even though we lost in the playoffs in one of the early rounds, that was one of the best offenses. We just underachieve a lot, I feel like. Even though the stat is very impressive and Tomlin's like a really good coach, like the standard for Steelers fans is really high. I think it's not easy to win the Super Bowl, but some seasons have been very underachieving.
Yeah. I do feel like they underachieved. It's definitely within that 2015 to 2018 era with the Killer Bees. I think he knows how to develop players. He knows how to develop a culture. But sometimes his clock management is shaky. His willingness to enable players to do what they want. He's a player's coach for a fault. And he doesn't really develop coaches like us, like develop coaches. He likes to be the smartest guy in the room. And I think that may be an issue. I think him letting go Bruce Arians is a little like too soon because he got too cozy with Ben. I think that kind of set that back and put him with Haley. And that didn't really work. It worked out a little somewhat, but it didn't really. I think that messed up the chemistry of the team. Him having Haley as a coach. So he's done well. You can't argue with 15 straight winning seasons. But God, he could have accomplished more because I think he has a little bit of an ego. And he's a little arrogant sometimes. But I love Mike Tomlin.
I mean, what else can you say right there? I mean, you've heard the Mendoza line. I'm stealing this off a tweet, but whatever. The Tomlin line, 500. That's going to be the new standard bearer for most coaches. That's going to be what they're going to call it from here on out. But I think his best coaching job, we talked about this earlier in the season, his best coaching job was that 2019 team. And I think this would be an even better coaching job if he somehow gets this team into the playoffs and wins one playoff game.
Bro, do you know who they're gonna play? If you know they're gonna probably play if they
Kansas City, exactly.
Bro, like we don't want that. Do you really want? We're talking all this throwing flowers at Ben. If that happens, if they go to the playoffs, Patrick Mahomes is gonna take off Old Yeller out to the woodshed in Kansas City at Arrowhead and shoot him. We don't want that to happen.
Dan Marino went out ugly. Not everyone ends up like John Elway. Dan Marino went out ugly.
I know.
So when it's time, it's time.
Ugly.
You only go out beautiful and even somewhat start if you're Peyton Manning. If you're playing for the Broncos, and last I checked, we're not playing in Colorado right now.
Nope. Yeah, because. But
for the Steelers to make the playoffs, they'll have to hope that the Jaguars beat the Colts. And also, there's a situation with the Raiders, and they have to hope that the Raiders and Chargers don't tie. Awful 2-14. I saw a report that managers supposed to wear clown outfits or something like that to the game because in protest of the general, or they want the general manager or something like that.
Oh man, that's good. That's going to be an absolute crap side.
So it's unlikely that the playoffs. So I would make it 5 consecutive seasons without a playoff win. And Brandon, you'll like this. That hasn't happened since before 1972.
Wow, 5 consecutive years without a playoff win?
Yeah, the last one was the game when he had all those field goals. It was 18.
We watched that game.
Yeah, we watched that game together.
And we went on afterwards.
Yeah, so that was the 2006 season.
It's the curse of the AB. That's when he went on Facebook Live and talked Trump about New England. And I was like,
No, it didn't happen like that. That was Tomlin. AB had him recorded. He was on Facebook Live.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Oh my God,
he was like, Tomlin was making his speech, his thunder and fire and brimstone preacher speech, and then I was like, when that happened, I was like, oh, this ain't gonna work. I knew they lost that game again.
Moving on to the game itself, like you mentioned earlier, wasn't that great, both offensive, but how about the defense with 9 sacks there, especially T.J. Watt with 4 sacks, and he's going in on that record for straight. He's at 1.5 sacks against the Ravens in Week 18 to have the all-time single-season sack record.
He'll get it.
What do you guys think about Watt's performance and overall the defense getting 9 sacks on Mayfield?
It's unbelievable. We pretty much just made a bigger name for ourselves last night. It doesn't happen very often where a team gets 9 sacks, and especially your star player getting 4. Like, I think Ben's send-off definitely played a role in their performance, because you don't see very often where a player gets 4 sacks and then a team totals for 9. And it just looked like there was a point where the Browns were like 4th and 30 on their own 2-yard line. And it's just, and especially with Renegade playing, it's a really big factor.
9 sacks, 4 by T.J. Watt. He's going to break the sack record. I guarantee it on Sunday, because their offensive line ain't too much better than the Browns in Baltimore. But T.J. Watt deserves Defensive Player of the Year. This is his year to get it. If he doesn't get it this year, he ain't getting it. So that defense showed its potential. Did you see? Was Bush playing?
No.
He's still on the COVID.
You see, that's exactly why the defense played better, because he did not play. However, but anyway, seriously, I think the Blitzburg could be back if you get Tuitt back next year. Alualu, I think this is a health issue. If they get some cornerback play,
I think Joe Hayden played his last game in Pittsburgh last night too. He posted something on his Instagram story saying, "Thank you, Pittsburgh." And I think he asked for a contract extension in the beginning of the year, but they said no. So I think he's going to go to free agency. So the Steelers are definitely going to have to look for some corners in the future.
Yeah, I saw that also about what Hayden posted, which is interesting because it's also on the same night with Roethlisberger's last game at Heinz Field, and I think they have something with Witherspoon, but I think they'll definitely have to draft a corner high in the draft. Mm-hmm. But overall, the defense, man, they did a great job. The Browns' game plan was really weird. I don't know why they didn't hand the ball off to Chubb more often.
At all.
They never give him the ball enough.
Yeah, and I think that's I think Stefanski's the play caller also, even though he's the head coach also. But that was really weird. Baker's he's so banged up right now, and I think I read that he's not playing it.
He's not playing, yeah.
Yeah, he's not playing week 18. He just has so many injuries, like his shoulder earlier this year, his labrum. He had that harness on his shoulder. Where he's just all messed up, and he's been throwing so many interceptions, like, during his career, really, since he started. That's really been what he's been known for. And the Browns they took a step back. I don't know. They had that big year last year. They beat the Steelers in the playoffs, and then they had so much high expectations, and they just really collapsed this year.
The thing is that they don't know how to handle prosperity. That was the problem. That group, they did not know how to handle a playoff run because they got big-headed, they got cocky, they read their press clippings. And we got to watch out for that for Cincinnati next year. But that's next season. But I don't know. It's more than one. Like he said, Jake said, it's more than one thing. You had the offensive line. You had the receivers. They didn't have Odell. Odell's not there. Odell thing didn't work out. Jarvis Landry was in and out of the lineup. He didn't play up to par. His usual stuff. You had your Conklin, their all-pro right tackle, got hurt. He said Willis was been compromised all year at the left tackle. So it's a whole different. The only thing that really worked was the interior of the offensive line and Nick Chubb on the offense. So and you can add Hooper too, but you just got to retool, rebuild. I suggest you draft the quarterback maybe in the second or third round and push him. So Baker Mayfield will get his act together, stop being in all these commercials and everything like that. So,
I think a big issue with their offense, like Najee got the ball on offense more than double the amount like Nick Chubb did. And like Nick Chubb only had 12 carries for 58 yards. And he's literally the best player on their offense. The issue is if he's not getting the ball enough, then they're not going to score any points. And you can't. I don't think Baker is a very good game manager because as you can see, he throws a lot of interceptions. I know he's hurt, but a lot of his decision making is just you look at the TV and you're like, where is he throwing? And I think that's just a lot of it.
Yeah, because we saw it when they played Green Bay, Travis. We was just wondering, like, what was he doing? What was he thinking?
On the red zone on 3rd and goal, and you throw an interception. Like,
yeah.
It's the last thing you should do.
Ever.
Yeah, they just it was really, Steelers, they just dominated both games this year. They really, but they haven't been good in the line of scrimmage battle, but against the Browns, the Furs and the Steelers just dominate. But that was really weird. I thought about the way the Browns did their play calling there, and I think Baker actually threw Stefanski under the bus after the game. I think he mentioned, I saw on Twitter that he mentioned how they weren't giving their rookie of be their rookie right tackle, any help there on TJ Watt, who had, with 4 sacks and everything.
Yeah.
And no, he's done that with, you can't even add the 17th game as an argument because he missed 2 games and he missed like at least 3 games.
Yeah.
So due to injury, like half the games or whatever.
Yeah.
So really just incredible season by TJ Watt. And he's really going up the sack leader list for the Steelers, franchise history. Like he might break Harrison's record maybe next season. I don't even know. I have to look at it, but he's closing, with 20 sacks, next year, who knows. But moving on, I think we talked pretty much. I'm trying to think if we have anything else to talk about during this game, or do you guys want to move on to the Antonio Brown saga? Anything else to say about this Steelers Browns game? Or
Ben had a great send off. Ben had a great send off. Najee was great. Offensive line was great. Defense was amazing. Amazing. You had not much more that we can talk about. Unless you want to talk about Ben's 2.7 yards per
that was that passing game for both teams yesterday was just brutal to watch. But what were you gonna say, Travis?
Oh, I was just gonna say I appreciated the send off. It was pretty much that's all I was thinking about during the game. So it was definitely good to see.
Yeah. You was texting like, do you expect the Jaguars to beat the Colts? And he texted me like in our family chat, let's just appreciate the game.
It's just the Jaguars are literally the last team in the NFL that I would have to to rely on, if I trust them to win. I mean, it could happen, who knows, but they are literally the last team that I could have any faith in.
Yeah, exactly. And the Colts, they've been playing well. I don't know what happened against the Raiders, but
it was that emotion.
Yeah.
That John Madden emotion. Remember, he coached the Raiders. See, that aura came in. If we did picks like we used to do back in the day, I would have picked them to win. And I'll pick them to win on Sunday too, to make the playoffs.
Yeah. But okay, moving on here. I guess we have to talk about the elephant in the room. I guess, what is going on with Antonio Brown? I fell asleep earlier on that day on Sunday, and I woke up a little bit. I woke up like a few minutes before it happened. So I saw it on Twitter, and I was like, "What is going on?" People mentioned it was incentive related. Like he had he could have made $1 million extra or something if he got some of these goals. I don't know what happened. He's still. Last night he was at the Nets game, so he was still in New York City. There was a video posted on him doing a cameo where he was saying Ben Roethlisberger is not done or something like that. He still got it. That was just like a promotion from Antonio Brown. He's talking to a Steelers fan on cameo who's probably paying him a good amount of money to talk with him. So I don't know. What do you guys think about Antonio Brown, that whole situation that went on?
I wasn't surprised per se, but I really hope he gets some help because it's obvious that he really has some issues and everyone's I feel like everyone's just looking around laughing, but the things that he keeps doing, it's just he's making it a lot worse because I don't think he's ever going to be signed by an NFL team ever again. And I'm not sure if that he cares or anything, but I think he really needs the help. He needs to find help.
You're right, Travis. You are 100% right. And I talked to you about this 2 years ago, Chris. So this is not me being big take Brandon or anything like that. And I said this before. He's going to mess around and do a Chris Benoit type situation. Now, and Travis, I don't know how old, you might not. You were old. You were probably 5 years old when it happened. You remember the wrestler Chris Benoit?
I'm not sure.
Okay, you don't remember. If you don't have it, look it up when we get off the air. We're not gonna get into it, but that guy is going to abuse. Is abusing himself. The CTE is hurting him, and you said we're gonna have somebody on during the offseason to talk CTE issues. Stay tuned for that. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's not confirmed what he has, but it's definitely something we don't know. It's either, CTE, which has been a common issue with football players, real sad situation that players during or after their careers deal with. Didn't Junior Seau have that also? CTE, they said?
Yeah, he had it. Junior
So-
Seau had it. I remember I watched the concussion. Dave Jurison. They had Andre Waters. They had somebody else.
Yeah, it's a lot of players.
A lot of people.
So it's either that, we don't know, or he's dealing with a really bad mental illness issue. So
You don't know.
we don't know.
What he be popping pills.
Yeah,
These guys pop pills in the league, and he's drinking. You know he's over there getting smashed.
I mentioned to Brandon before the show. I said his picture of the Nets game, he had sunglasses on and everything.
That's what I saw that. I noticed that.
And I was like, his face didn't look good. Like he didn't look right or something. Like something's off. So I definitely agree with you guys. We hope AB gets help because this is clearly a bad issue that it's been continuing on. And even Tom Brady mentioned it during his post-game press conference where he said, basically said that, this is a serious situation or something. Like, he basically said he needs help and everything. It wasn't exact quotes, but that's what he was getting at. So, it was just crazy to see that, he took off his whole gear and, threw in his stuff in his shirt into the stands and then ran off the field and everything. Just a real bizarre situation. And Bruce Arians, he's still not cut. Like, he's still with the Bucks somehow, even though Bruce Arians, as he usually does, talks all tough, saying yeah, he's no longer a Buck or something like that.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest. There might be a possibility that he might be back for the playoffs. They might just sit him down for a game. I hope this doesn't happen, but talent trumps a lot of things. If you can't make it, you can make somebody money. You're gonna slide through some issues, no matter what.
I think Tom Brady could be a big factor with that too.
We enabled it for 8 years. We have enabled his behavior as fans, and the Steelers organization enabled it.
I saw Jacino Anderson. She tweeted something. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, so
she tweeted, if Antonio Brown wants a job on another team in the NFL, he can have one. That is not an opinion. That is what I know. So he still has a chance, I guess, from other NFL teams, even though
he's going to be back. I think he's going to be back for the playoffs for Tampa.
Yeah. Why is Bruce Arians?
So he will be playing in the wild card round.
Why is Bruce Arians?
I'm telling you, if he would have cut him, he would have cut him already. Brady's in his ear. Brady don't want him out of
I was going to say Brady's definitely a big influence on what they do with him because they're already wide receiver thin.
Yeah.
They lost. Yeah. They're losing their top player, and they lost one of their top running backs. So it's like anything out of the offense. And before, Antonio Brown was doing really well in the Jets game before, he went off and left. But I really think it's the fact that Tom Brady he's trying to win a Super Bowl, and they need any help they can get. And he's one of the most talented players in the league. So.
Yeah, and Brady definitely runs that team. Even though Bruce Arians always tries to talk, tough. What do you say when they first signed AB? He's like, he messes up one time, he's out of here or something.
And the vaccination card thing happened.
And then he says, So
they'll tolerate you as long as you can produce it. You have that talent, you have that ability.
Mm-hmm. If they can help you win, that's all they care about.
What is he gonna do when his career's over? Once you can't do that anymore, once that skill fades and dissipates,
that's going to be a tough thing.
It's going to be tough.
Once his career, I don't know what I know he does some rapping. I saw he recently released a song after this is like a whole stunt. Like, I didn't know if did he have this organized because they're saying that
really seemed like it. It really seemed like it.
He probably wanted to. He's an attention whore. Am I allowed to say attention whore on here?
Yeah, I mean,
he's an attention whore.
He's just I guess they said it started in the locker room at halftime or something, and then Arians told him to go back in the game, and he refused. So I don't know. We really don't know the whole details. I think the incentives that some people have mentioned, I think that makes sense because, you don't want to mess with AB's money, and stuff. And that might have set him off.
So, yeah, it's going to be
interesting
how it plays out.
Yeah, all right. I think that's really all we got, really. We had the Ben send-off, great night in Pittsburgh. But, moving forward, we wish Ben, obviously, all the best moving forward in his career, his life work after his Hall of Fame career. He'll be in the Hall of Fame 5 years, once that five-year window ends. It'd be
2027, babe. 2027.
Yeah, but I think Ben's going to, I don't think he's going to be around as like a broadcast. I think he's going
to fade into the sunset.
Yeah, he's riding off.
Family man.
He's going to disappear into a family man.
Yeah. So, wow, what a career by Ben. And I saw people on Twitter saying they were like crying or whatever, and choked up. And I didn't get that far, like choked up.
I was
definitely not going to cry over a player retiring.
Cry, but I was like, dang. Okay, Travis, I gotta ask this question, even though I'm gonna get scolded by people in the family. Was your mom crying?
I wasn't with my mom, so I'm not sure, but I know.
Knowing her, she was crying. Because that's her mom's favorite player, isn't it?
It's my favorite player. Like I said before, he's the only like quarterback that I've seen my whole entire life. So, oh my God, I wouldn't even blame anyone for crying, to be honest.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, I did think when he was going off in that tunnel, I was like, man, this guy played quarterback for the Steelers for like pretty much almost my whole entire life. So. Mm-hmm. Hats off to Ben, a heck of a career, but it should be interesting to see how the Steelers move forward and see if they get a veteran quarterback or how they replace Ben. And people we talked about before the season, should have Ben came back, and you could debate all that. This is what he wanted, a proper send off. They didn't have fans in the stands last year, which was really not ideal. It was depressing, obviously, to watch a game and there's nobody in the stands, but. This was at least, better than last year, him crying on the sidelines with, So, this was right. And, as far as their season, it really didn't, as far as getting, where I'm going with this about how the Bengals, how they turned things around. The Steelers, it looks like they're going to draft middle again. They're going to be like 8-1 probably, or even 9-7-1. The Ravens haven't been doing that well. So it's kind of like, and no playoffs. So it's like, the Steelers is kind of like, it's whatever at this point.
It is.
But that's all I got. We'll have someone on for the Ravens, probably a Ravens writer later this week, probably the end of the late part of this week. Recap Week 18, the final regular season week of the season. As we mentioned before, the Steelers, they need some help from the Jaguars. I'm not holding my breath on that, but that's for the end. They got to beat the Ravens to make the playoffs. But that's all we got for this edition of the Renegade Blitz. I'm Chris Ward. Brandon Walker, and thanks for having Travis Adams on again. We'll have to do this again next week, probably a post-game show for the day after Steelers-Ravens game on Sunday.
We're not doing it.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We're not.
Thank you for listening to the Renegade Blitz podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at @RBlitzPod, and at Blitz Videos. Read articles on renegadeblitz.com, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. The Renegade Blitz podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you can listen to podcasts.